Welcome to the Smart Money Tribe podcast. I'm your host, Arese. I'm the founder of smartmoneyafrica.org, a financial education platform tailored to the African millennial woman. But I'm probably best known as the author of two best-selling personal finance books, The Smart Money Woman and The Smart Money Tribe. I love having money conversations that encourage African women to think bigger and become the chief financial officers of their own personal economies. This podcast is a weekly show that will focus on powerful conversations, stories, and practical lessons that teach African millennial women how to make money, keep money, and grow money. Hi, Poddies. How's everyone doing? I hope you're having a great summer. I'm loving mine so far, even though I'm working through it and low-key beefing on all the people that are on holiday. I have some great news. So our little book, The Smart Money Woman, which I wrote and self-published in 2016 and then went on to executive produce and turn it into a 13-episode TV series, is now coming to ding, 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 Netflix. I'm so excited. It's been such a journey and I can't wait for a broader audience to experience the magic that we created, and exciting times. So watch out for the release date. Next guest is Ada Osakwe, a phenomenal entrepreneur who has had an amazing trajectory in her career working in both the public and private sectors. So Ada is an economist who is the CEO of Agrolay Ventures, an agribusiness investment company based in Nigeria. She went from working as an investment banker at BNP Paribas in London and then became a senior investment officer at the ADB, the African Development Bank. She worked in private equity at Kuramo Capital in New York before she became a special investment advisor to the Minister of Agriculture and then went on to start Agrolay Ventures. Ada sits on the board of the One Acre Fund, a Kenya-based financial and educational non-government organization that serves small-scale farmers in Burundi, Kenya, Malawi, Rwanda, Tanzania, and Uganda. Forbes magazine named her in 2014 as one of the 20 youngest power women in Africa. In March 2021, Ada was awarded the Businesswoman Award by Forbes magazine. Amazing. So in this conversation, we talk about her career, the challenges of this operating environment, and how she's been able to navigate that. We talk about her relationship with Aruma Ote, who became a very valuable sponsor and helped to facilitate the development in her career, which I think is really fascinating. So I hope you enjoy this episode. Have fun. Hi.
Hi, Arese. It's great to be here. How have you been?
It's been amazing, Ada. I'm just super excited to be here so that my audience can learn from your journey, because you've had such a spectacular journey. Guys, Ada has been a superstar career. I know you went from investment banking to private equity to being an advisor to the Minister of Agriculture.
Yes. Nigeria.
And it was amazing to now hear that you were doing Nuli Juice. And I remember thinking, wow, a smoothie, like she wants to start doing smoothies.
Yes.
But in the back of my mind, I knew that this girl who had this amazing career, there was something behind it. There was something behind this, move to starting like a juice business. And then it became clearer that you were investing in the agricultural space. So I just wanted you to start by telling us a bit about, how you started, how you got from being an advisor at such a young age to a minister to starting this spectacular business in agriculture in Africa.
Thanks, Arese. And my head is just like swelling when you're saying that. I'm like, little me. But honestly, it's really been a blessed journey. I have been truly fortunate to have the opportunities that I've had. But obviously I've been very deliberate about making sure those opportunities were lined up for me. You spoke about me being in government and then transitioning to this journey of entrepreneurship. It was not planned. I wanted to do something that was impactful, something that was meaningful, and something that I could just truly enjoy and have fun. You know how they say that, if you could really be doing a job that you're good at and you still love, that's the best type of job. And it's what I've always searched for, I think, unknowingly. My journey started here in Nigeria. I went up to high school in terms of education right here. And then I went to the UK for my undergrad degree at University of Hull. I studied economics, graduated with a first-class degree. Knew I wasn't going to do a PhD or anything. Decided to do a master's straight up and went to Warwick for economics and finance. And this for me was the eye-opener in terms of doing things in finance. And I really loved the sector. I just thought it was fascinating. And it helped me transition into investment banking, as you mentioned, as my first job out of school. I worked in London, covering most of in the debt capital markets team, covering all the supranationals and agencies and development finance institutions globally, one of which was the African Development Bank. And I had the opportunity to meet the treasurer during one of her road shows in London. And she was like, you're applying for the African Development Bank. You should join our young professionals program. And that sparked interest and opened up what I believe I was said to be quite life-changing for me. My time at the African Development Bank at such a young age, I think I was 25. I think till now I may remain the youngest person who had joined such a renowned institution. Yes. And, just at that young age, you're sort of thrown into this mega multinational with so many countries. People from all over the world are your colleagues. You're getting to work on fascinating transactions. And more importantly, if at that age you put yourself forward, there were opportunities. And that was something I pretty much was focused on. And I'm sure we'll talk about some of the people who impacted me over time and the mentors, but one of them was that treasurer, Miss Aruma Ote. And she's the one who truly opened up. And it was not just about the career. It was more so about me as an individual and the way she sort of pushed me in my career to be that, everything from women should ask, Ada, you can do it. Ada, make sure you're at that meeting, or make sure you ask a question at that meeting. So teaching me even the tools to navigate the corporate world or the institutional world, like the African Development Bank. She was very, she gave me the confidence and built that.
Oh my God, I think that's so fascinating because I met her a few times and I know that her big legacy is making sure that she's a sponsor for, African women who want to do impactful things. So it's amazing.
Absolutely. She was really the starting point in many ways in terms of my career. I also have a really strong mom. My mom is an entrepreneur. She's been my inspiration in many ways. And those two strong women combined in my life in that way, it really was, Ada, you have no choice but to be successful. You have no choice but to set yourself apart, pretty much. Forget, everybody defines success in a different way, but I think I was always on that path to always try to set myself apart from the pack.
And it just shows you that you need both. You need mentors and you need sponsors, because I feel like we've gotten to a point now where it's become clear that there's a difference between, guidance, through mentorship, and then women who actually advocate for you when you're not in the room, who bring opportunities your way, who talk about how you can apply your skill set to certain opportunities when you're not in the rooms that they're in. So I think it's so amazing, as in that, another Nigerian woman in a multinational, took it upon herself to make sure that, you gained the right sort of soft skills to be able to navigate your career.
No, you're absolutely right. Both men and women can be sponsors in many ways. I say that, typically a mentor can be your counterpart, your friend, and who's just somebody you talk to at every stage and say, should I take that job? Should I not take that job? Your mentor could even be someone younger than you. It's not an age thing. But when it comes to sponsors, like you said, when you're not in the room, somebody who is being deliberate, who is putting their own reputation at risk, they're putting it on the line for you. So you better work, you better achieve what that you're going to achieve. And that's sort of what it was with Aruma Otta in many ways. I had to shine so that she also could shine and continue to look good. So after the ADB, I decided to do something different. A second master's this time. I went to the US to do my MBA at the Kellogg School of Management, Northwestern University. And that also was another pivotal time for me, just being back at school, being with all type A people who had, a big vision. You could just have such great conversations and diverse conversations. That the power of diversity was very eminent, was pretty much there, throughout my journey. And it was my transition into private equity. I had gotten tired of development finance and the fact that we were still talking about the same things about Africa must develop, let's build power plants. And I'm like, this thing is happening, or we're still talking. So
working with the minister as an advisor is that was what the job role was.
Absolutely. So it was a senior advisor on investments to the Minister of Agriculture. I went through the process. I remember going for some informational interviews with some people at the Tony Elumelu Foundation to understand about the job. But I was enjoying my private equity job in New York. I was traveling around Africa, living in New York. It was just really nice. I went back to New York and I forgot about the position. I had these great conversations, but I forgot to apply. And I just got immersed in my life in New York, only for them to send me a message. Hey, Ada, this thing has been advertised. We haven't seen your application. It closes in 2 days. I was like, oh, okay, let me apply. And I did it. And I was shortlisted. And the last stage, I had to meet the minister. But of course, I was in New York. He was in Nigeria. But a few helpers made it happen that when he was in the States, he was visiting in New Jersey. I took a day off work and I took the Amtrak train and went out to meet him in New Jersey. And what should have been a 30 to 45 minute interview, maybe even less, became a 3-hour conversation. Wow. And I just absolutely was blown away by this individual who had moved from Kenya, where he was working, back to Nigeria after many, many years to be this Minister of Agriculture. And he was talking about agriculture, a sector I had never even considered in my life. And I got so excited and I eventually took the job. So,
how old were you?
Oh my gosh, how was it? I was 30. 30, yes. I became a senior advisor on investments, yes.
I remember when the announcement was made, and it was such a big moment for African millennials, or should I say just young people in Nigeria, because it was one of the first times that a young person was actually, in a serious position in government, and not just like a woman that was young, that, was brilliant. And we knew that, there was a lot of merit to, the position because her track record speaks for her. But it was such a big moment. Did you feel pressure that, wow, I'm 30, I'm in this huge position in the government, I don't want to let my village people down?
Actually, no, it's funny. I just took it as just that next step, that step of exploration, and another step being closer to doing something meaningful, as I said earlier, doing something impactful. So I said, okay, being on the policy side, rather than always criticizing the government, this might be a chance to actually do something interesting. And that's really how I felt. And you mentioned how people were like, wow, and the fact that I was a woman in such a position. And I think that it's a very important point, and I don't want us to lose that for your audience, for those listening, is that I was a woman and I was a young woman. And it's in a country like Nigeria, working in the government, public sector. And we know the prejudice that exists. We know the biases that exist for women, talk less of when you're young. So there's ageism that comes into it, apart from just the usual stuff.
Young girl that's come to tell us about what?
It's like, who is this young person? They think I'm an intern running around, and until they realize, oh my gosh, she's not. So I think that was also quite instructive in terms of even the fact that I got the role and the kind of the boss I was working with, the fact that he could put me by his side and give me that platform to support and to serve.
When you look at your career in terms of working in policy in the government, being in that role, what would you say like the most impactful things or the highlights of that season in your life were? What are you most proud of?
There are a number of things. I would say. I think from a finance and the fact that I get very passionate about investing in businesses. And I think one of the big projects I worked on was the Fund for Agricultural Financing in Nigeria. So that was my baby in the ministry. That was something that we pretty much, conceived alongside the German Development Bank, KfW, and we brought it to life in many ways, and selected a fund manager to manage it, to invest in earlier stage, I wouldn't say earlier stage, SME type agribusinesses. At the time, nobody was truly focusing on businesses in the agriculture space. We're talking about dairy companies or, cassava growers. What my former boss, the Minister of Agriculture, did was to spark this interest in the agriculture sector. So we wanted to leave something tangible to that. Yes, we now have the interest. We want to do something. Where do we get the money? We wanted to leave that fund as something, as a legacy, as something that people could get funding from. And that's pretty much what the Fund for Agricultural Financing has gone on to do. It's about a $69 million fund. They've invested in everything from rice to edible oils to dairy to cassava. And it's really exciting to see how it awakened and the interest in agriculture. Yes. So that's one big, in terms of a tangible project. If I would say something that's an intangible of what the impact of that experience was on me, it was just, oh my gosh, it's just when you know that things are a lot bigger than you. You know how we all say that, I don't like government. Let me just stay in my corner and build my business and I'm fine. I don't ask government for anything. You hear a lot of leaders in the private sector say that. But the government made me realize that everybody needs a well-functioning government. Everybody needs the right policies to help them thrive, the right policies to be in an environment that people can come and buy your products, that they can afford it, that there's no inflation, that, it just goes on and on. And the government has such a huge role to play in making an impact in lives, education, creating opportunities. You can go on and on. So although one might be disillusioned, I know without a doubt that that experience sparked in me that viewpoint that one day.
Would you ever go back into a government role?
Maybe, it's not in the short or medium term plan. But who knows if it's in the long-term plan, because of that experience, because of the impact and how powerful I saw that government in really creating meaningful change and positive impact on lives.
I love it. I love it when people have gone through something that's super scary and they're not so afraid to go back in the long term to the medium term, because we need people that think like you in the Nigerian government. Let's shift gears a little bit and talk about moving from that role, being an advisor to the minister, and then deciding to start Agrolay Ventures. Talk to us about that transition.
Yeah, with pleasure. So I was now at the ministry. I've done this for 4 years, nearly 4 years, and my boss was going on to become the president of the African Development Bank. Remember, that was the institution I worked with at first.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, been there, done that. I have all this excitement about what the possibilities are in Nigeria's agriculture sector, or in Africa's agriculture sector, importing over $40 billion worth of food that our local farmers can actually be growing. But not just about that, about our young people potentially processing that food into high value food products that can go global and stand the test of any. So I got really excited about this. So that's one thing. And then the second aspect I got excited about is what I think I've alluded to a few times on this conversation, is the need for early stage type capital. So Agrolay was born to focus on early stage businesses in the agriculture sector, to invest in them as private equity. It's a principal investing firm, so it's my own savings, it's my own money that was being put to work in early stage companies. But while I was doing this, at some point I said, maybe it's going to become a fund. I wanted to start an evergreen fund, a permanent capital vehicle. I said, we need patient capital, longer time to take care of these businesses for them to truly reach their potential and give us those investment returns we seek. But at some point I started going, I had a few conversations, one or two, honestly, with potential investors in the fund. And after doing that, I was just like, nah, this is not what I should be doing. I'm not ready for this. Exactly, I'm not ready for this. But what I was ready for was a chance to roll up my own sleeves and do something in the agriculture space and actually practice what I had been preaching for years, talking to investors to come into Nigeria's agriculture. So I was like, let me actually build a business from scratch and be that entrepreneur and go through the highs, the lows, and truly see if I can build a sustainable business in the sector. And that's how Nuli was born. So Nuli is one of the investment companies of Agrolay. Agrolay continues to do early stage investments. So I didn't make it a fund, but now I believe we have a portfolio of 11 companies. So I find interesting young entrepreneurs who are doing things that it started, obviously the focus was like food and agriculture, but we sort of diversified into technology, fintech, and some other types of businesses. But the theme and the ethos and the investment thesis for us is investing in young entrepreneurs who are doing businesses that have the potential to completely transform the ecosystems that they play in. So that would be the theme that you would see. Sometimes I back people who they're doing something and nobody else is doing something like that. But if I believe in what the addressable market is, I go for it and we take the risk. So it's still small ticket sizes, but very exciting to over time see.
Have you had to raise funds for it now, or are you still the principal investor?
It's still a principal investing, angel type investing vehicle. On the Nuli side, which is one of Agrolay's investments, and which is what I started. I'm the MD, founder of Nuli as well. We have raised a seed round in 2018. We raised $850,000. This was 3 years after the business had started, 3 years after I had proven the model, 3 years after I had shown there was something here. And I was able to go to a few investors and for them to back us. So we're very excited about being able to see. I think for me, it's full circle, because I'll take a step back. A lot of what I'm so grateful when I started off this conversation, as I said, telling you I was blessed, and I feel so blessed. I think in terms of my career, I have seen public sector, private sector, quasi-public sector, so the breadth of all sides in terms of, in the things I do, even with regards to investments. Now I've raised investments. I've structured and set up a fund for investments. I've also been an entrepreneur, to raise that capital. I've also deployed that capital to other entrepreneurs. So seeing most sides of the table, I wouldn't say all, but most sides of the table really puts me in a unique position in my outlook in life in general.
I'm really blessed, because that's a very amazing perspective to have from all sides. And even just as a person who has watched Nuli grow from sort of early stage to what it is now is just phenomenal. Like Green Glory, the Green Glory smoothie is like the best thing ever. I have weeks where I'm addicted to it, and that's the only thing I can drink, like, for the whole week, because I'm trying to keep my weight down. And chicken wrap, like the spicy chicken wrap, obsessed. I think it's quite amazing, and I think one of my favorite things about you has been how you've tackled big problems. And how you've not been afraid, to tackle big problems, and sometimes even taking on the government. So this leads me to my next question. What have been your biggest challenges, like with building a business in the agricultural industry in Nigeria or in Africa in general?
First of all, thank you for your kind words. It just hits me hard, because in a good way, hits me hard in a good way, because we're here pushing, and it's so nice that people are seeing, and the things that we don't see or that I'm not seeing, you're saying, you're pretty much saying, Ada, you're doing good, keep going, so I truly appreciate it. That's been tough times. It's plenty, but I think if I'm to put it all together in one umbrella and say, what is the biggest thing that gets me really upset sometimes and makes this all difficult, I think it's just the operating environment that I've been in here in Nigeria, that we all are, that you are doing as well. It's tough. I would say it's tough. We have, and I think it pains me more because I know how much potential we have. I stopped using that word because I got tired of potential. You hear it a lot in government. Exactly. Let's execute. Let's get it done. Let's stop talking. Let's show that. Let's just get it done. And the government is not playing their part in that. We're here. We're pushing. I keep saying that. If the same business Nuli was, if you just up and place me in London, or up and place me in Chicago, up and place me in DC, it'll be a very different conversation. You'll be seeing me maybe on the cover of Forbes, or it'll be a very different conversation. I would be flying. I believe that. I really believe that the environment we operate in here in Nigeria holds us back in many ways. I think that's one of my biggest challenges. Everywhere you turn, if it's not one day, oh, this person is asking for money. Oh, there's no light. Oh, your profits are diminished because of the operating costs. It makes no sense.
And just this thoughtlessness, like it's amazing sometimes, because you think, wow, entrepreneurs in Nigeria, especially, all of them, every single day.
They're the MVPs.
Because they wake up and they eat problems for breakfast. We're not even spoiled. We wake up and we think, okay, you know what, it's going to be hard today. And there are going to be obstacles that you do not even plan for that, come your way, but you have to be ready for it. And then on top of all of that, the government can just wake up and think, it almost feels like they think, how do we make things harder for Nigerians today? What policies can we put in place?
Exactly. You've just summarized it. Exactly.
Make them harder.
I keep saying that it's like we're swimming, right? We're swimming and something happens and you start drowning, and you're trying to come back up for air, and your government is the one pushing you back in.
I remember was it your first store? I remember
our first store in Lagos. Yes, we had our store in Abuja as our first.
Yeah, do you want to talk about that, because that was such a big
It was, it's always, of course, we didn't let it define us in any way, but I'm so thankful it happened in many ways, because you just learn, and it really was a great way to expose the environment that we just spoke about. Because there I had just finished out in government. I haven't been the one in a position that I was the one selling Nigeria's opportunity, talking about the young people, let's give them jobs, talking about agriculture, let's create value-added opportunities in agriculture, let's support women. And those three things, I ticked the box with Nuli, right? We were creating jobs for young people. We were doing things in agriculture and adding value to our beverages and our restaurants. And I was a woman, and we were employing women. And then you have a situation where the same government, due to whatever, individuals, whatever, they go on to demolish the chain of stores, including ours. And it was 5 weeks after we had opened. I was sitting there every day with the men, sitting inside with carpenters, sitting there every day, money coming out just to try and get it open so that you can start trading and seeing this 5 weeks of excitement. It had we were already doing more than double the sales of Abuja. It was all exciting. The buzz was around that there's this new healthy cafe. They have this. The vibe was different. And then this happened. When you're in retail, when you're building a brand, it's difficult. You have to keep people's attention. You have to...
Even at the time you were doing it.
Yes, and at the time we were doing it as well. So, and then that happened. It's like it cuts short everything, the hope, the momentum, and there's this void. But when I say the things that came out of it, honestly, the way the public rallied around us, even those who didn't know about us suddenly knew about us. It may be for a bad thing or something that they feel sorry for us. But honestly, that I still remember there was a Paystack had just started. So somebody created a Paystack, a page that friends of Nuli and people were donating. We raised money from that I could pay salaries. I lived in Ikoyi and our store was in Ikoyi at the time. And I remember after about 2 weeks, 3 weeks, after just sleeping every day, just crying, not crying, but just not wanting to get out of bed. One day I just that support, and from outside, I just called my team. I said, bring whatever toasters you have, let's do it from the house. Come to my kitchen, let's start making. We have to keep going. We have to keep going. And that's pretty much how we got ourselves back together, finally got another space. And today we now have 6 stores.
Girl. Listen, let me tell you the thing for me, when that was happening. I remember watching an interview with you talking about it on television, and I was so broken and I feel like a lot of entrepreneurs who watched that, who followed, your journey at that time, could relate, because it was like you can sit down and have this amazing idea and, be trying to build it out. And, something that you never thought about, like them demolishing your store, can come from nowhere, because this is the country that we live in. And just the fact that there was no accountability.
Yes.
For it, as in, was frustrating. But what was even more amazing? How bold you were. How bold you were to come out and speak up. How bold you were to say, it doesn't matter that, this is a government and I'm just a young woman and they can, do things to try to squash me, but I'm going to speak up. I'm going to talk about my problem. I'm going to talk about how terrible this is. And it was just amazing to watch. It's amazing to watch, how you overcame that obstacle, and I'm sure a lot more after, and just built this amazing brand that you have now.
Quick shout out to our sponsors, Bamboo. So if you follow me on Instagram, you'll know that my current obsession is the Bamboo app. Because I'm trying to get richer, not poorer. And the way the inflation and FX policies are set up in Nigeria, it's become more important to start investing in more dollar-denominated assets. So I'm currently obsessed with Bamboo. This is no joke. Bamboo is an investment platform that gives Africans direct, real-time access to invest in or trade in over 3,500 stocks and ETFs listed on the US stock market from their personal devices. Bamboo makes it fast and easy for members to buy stock in companies they like Amazon, Facebook, Google, Netflix, to name a few. So download the app, guys. This episode of the Smart Money Tribe podcast is powered by Bamboo.
So what are your plans for Africa?
The plans remain really big, very ambitious, very bold. And I'm glad you said Africa, because at the start of the conversation, I told you, it's always been Africa. I'm passionate about just everything we do on this continent and going beyond Nigeria in many ways. Nuli is on a growth path. We want to continue to galvanize healthier lifestyles, for millions of people through our fresh, locally grown food. We want to connect farmers to markets. We want to keep giving people nutritious foods and that are creative, things that they feel that makes them feel happy. So we want to go beyond Nigeria. We reached 10 stores before the crisis hit. This year we've already opened 2 stores, so we're building back. And we want to build back better as the saying has been going. And we want to go outside, first of all, to our neighboring countries in Africa. And someday, from day one, I've been building a brand that I want to transition to the West. I want to transition broader than Africa. I keep saying I'm tired of the KFCs coming in or the Domino's and we're clapping and we're happy.
Yeah.
Let's build our own food brands, or let's build our own brands that would translate elsewhere. So look out for that Nuli on the streets of New York soon. That's
I can actually visualize that.
Thank you.
Visualize that. One of my biggest goals in life is to be a Pan-African brand on a global stage.
Yes.
One of the things
Yes.
I do on a daily basis to myself.
Yes.
I think I can see Nuli as a brand that is exportable just because of the way that everything is done from start to finish, the level of quality, packaging, all of it is amazing. So I wanted to move to like more personal finance questions. So you've been an entrepreneur and you've been an entrepreneur, right? And I find that whether you are working in a corporate or you're working as an entrepreneur, as women, we tend to be a bit more timid when it comes to asking for money or when it comes to negotiating, promotions or going for that contract. And I know that you're a bold woman, so you're bolder than most. But what kind of strategies have you employed when it comes to negotiating salaries or going for that opportunity as an entrepreneur and being bold enough to ask for more money?
Yeah. It's a very interesting one, and it's one of those ones that I still, anytime I think about asking, I always still remember Aruma Ote and one of the sessions she hosted when we were in Tunisia, where the African Development Bank was based. And I think it was a lady who was with one of the women who I think authored that book, Women Don't Ask. And so I always picture that, and I always push myself. I was like, women don't ask. No, we do. And the book was pretty much going on to say how we tend to not negotiate for ourselves, or we don't ask, and we're always just far behind. So every time those opportunities come on board, I remember that, and I just push myself. Even if I'm feeling timid, I push myself. But I think the most important thing is that I don't do it blindly. It must be backed by actions. It must be backed by results. It must be backed by a strong case of why. A strong case why I'm asking for a higher salary. A strong case why I believe our Nuli supplying, we supply Pinkberry, we make all their salads and their stuff, why we think our product is the best on the market and we should be paid for it. A strong case for if I'm asked when I get a lot of invitations to speak at things, and a strong case for my honorarium and the price of it. A strong case for my board sitting fees, for the boards, the global boards that I sit on, for the sitting fees. A strong case for that. If you don't ask, people don't always want to pay. It's a cost to them.
Yeah.
So you have to ask. So I pretty much always think about that book. I always push myself. And the reason, the thing is that once you try it once, twice, and you get through, it makes you the confidence to keep going. It's not as if it always works. There's stories I have when you think about women versus men, or you would hear later on a man got a higher salary or something. And I would go and make the case, this is what I do, why did this happen? And another one that I don't think we talk about enough, Arese, is being a single woman. There's always this assumption of women, families, there's a husband, there's stuff there. or you're there, you're a single woman building, and you're not getting the benefits that of somebody who has a husband or children they get. You know, I had somebody once tell me in a firm I was working in, when I pushed back on why did somebody have a higher salary than I did, because I was more senior, and I was told because he had a family. And I'm like, interesting. I'm like, I have nieces, I have nephews. Even if I'm still working damn hard, and so monetize that money you're giving and give it to me and put it, you know. So it's a very interesting.
It's actually terrible. Like, I love that you mentioned the thing about being single, you know, and in this part of the world, I find that because I've had this experience as well, where I've basically been told, what do you need this money for?
Yeah.
You're my man with a family, and I'm like, I'm confused.
You're not paying school fees.
You know, I mean, I even have an almost 10-year-old, and what do you think that a man is doing differently?
Yeah.
I still have the same, I still have the same responsibilities. Like, so I'm confused. But it's really something that, you're right. We need to talk about a bit more. Even simple things.
Especially because women are being single a lot longer now.
Yes.
Over 40, before you could be, So
like I've even had scenarios where I've had to we've agreed sort of an amount, and then when I've done the job, I've put myself in situations where I have to come and start making a case for why you should pay me what you initially said you're supposed to pay me, something that is in contract,
Yeah.
The person is more senior and a man, and you have to, it's like culturally, okay, you have to convince, and it's just like, why? I've done the work, I provided value, why? So it's really tough. Do you find that you're getting paid as an entrepreneur now? Because, when you work in government or you work for an institution, it's a little different. Like it's your salary, it's your bonuses and all of that, and promotions. But when you're an entrepreneur in Africa, where a lot of your interactions have to be informal, do you find that getting your invoices paid takes a bit longer, or is a bit of a struggle?
Yes, it wasn't at the start, but by the time I started removing myself from it, when you start having the structures of the accountant should follow up or the HR person should follow up, that sort of thing, it became a lot easier. So I think that was how I dealt with it. Removing the personal, removing me as Ada, and pushing the company and what we do very much ahead of it, and having all those other people within to do that. It's a very interesting situation.
Dynamic, I know. And there are times where you say, Arese, why is your accountant here? Or why is this person from your team in our office from morning till evening? I was like, because that's where they work until you've paid us. But I think money is very, very important. I think as a government, we need to start having, those conversations a bit more about our struggles when it comes to, getting paid or getting promoted.
Yes.
So we can share sort of, strategies and stories. So what did you do with your first paycheck?
I don't remember. But I don't remember. Oh my gosh. But I think the biggest thing I was proud of that I bought was a car when I was at the ADB. And I took the employee loan, but it just felt so good putting my own equity contribution to it and paying off for my salary as the months went by, that this is my cash. There's the Toyota Corolla. Okay, even before that, I lie. Before that was my first brand new car. When I was in London in investment banking, I bought a second-hand car. It was a Peugeot 406, a dark grey one. It was bigger. You know how London has really small, tiny cars.
Yeah.
So this was slightly bigger. So I liked it, and that was nice because that was when I was investment banking, so there was good money, and it felt really nice. That made me smile. Great question.
So usually I ask my guests, what did you do with your first 1 million naira, right? I'm actually going to say, what did you do with? Because obviously you started earning in pounds a long time ago, so that would have resulted in 1 million naira early on. But what did you do with it, like the first big, money that you made in your career?
Hey, I think I remember having that conversation on.
How did you make it? Sorry.
The chat. I don't think it was banking. Maybe it was just my salary. And I remember, I'm trying to remember if it happened. I have to ask my parents. But I remember that whole traditional thing of giving the parents the first check. And I remember having that conversation. So I think I gave them. I have to ask them. But I think I did because I remember it was really on my mind that, people have done so much. Let me go and do that. But yeah, it wasn't that. I didn't do any savings at the time. I was getting savings for stuff that I needed. So I was saving to get the car or saving to pay my rent, and just a little bit for a rainy day. I'm not the type of person that will spend all my money and be looking at left to right and stuff. I would definitely keep things for a rainy day. I remember also, this was the time when there was the stock market rally and everybody was excited. I think it was 2007 time or so. So we got some shares in Nigeria's stock market as well to put some stuff away. So those are some of the things.
So my next question is, what is your investment strategy? So as Ada, what do you typically, put your money in to keep and grow it?
Yeah, it's an interesting one. And I think, I said, given what you do, it might be interesting to dissect that question for somebody who's an entrepreneur versus somebody who works, that sort of thing. Because I know that has flipped since I became an entrepreneur. You're just kind of, as an entrepreneur, pretty much everything is going into my business. You're just trying to keep it going. And otherwise, I am big, again, I talked about Agrolay, early stage investing, believing that these, in a few years' time, especially with the growth that we see and all, will give some interesting returns. So that's private capital. And one of the companies I invested in is Shaka, and they pretty much do investments across stock markets, both here and across the globe. So looking into that as well with regards to placing money. Otherwise, that's really, really what I do.
What's interesting, because obviously you worked in institutions before, you had a set salary, so it was easier to say,
so we had Kakawa Discount House, they were managing money market funds, they would give me my reports every month. So I still have that, but it's not for now. I'm not the one actively doing any money that comes. I'm not increasing my holdings.
You're focused on your business. But I'll say something about that, because it's been interesting for me as well, just theoretically knowing that you have to put a proportion of your income aside so that you can, keep and grow it and build your asset base and all of that. But, when you become an entrepreneur, it's a bit more challenging because you don't know, there's clarity, but there's uncertainty as well about, what's happening in the future. And the tendency is to put more money into your business than put it aside for yourself. But I'm also very cognizant of the fact that, yes, your business is an asset and it's important for you to continue to invest in it. But you also don't want to get to a point where your own personal net worth is not...
Precisely. And that's why, I would say that the beginning of my business is where all my money was going in, right? Mm-hmm. And then I raised funds and I had other investors come in. And after that, the business continues to grow and the business can pay me a salary. So there's no more me trying to say, oh, I need to put money, we need to buy this. It's the business that does that. So every entrepreneur has to get to that point quickly, where it's not you toiling to put your personal assets or your own savings into growing this thing, because you don't know, it is a big risk, and you really truly have to have something for a rainy day. You have to build some hard assets as well. I own my own home, for example. So it's just certain things that one should just work towards.
Because I've seen people grow businesses for 20 years, 25 years, and their business is their primary asset. And God forbid something bad happens to the business and they don't have, other things to rely on, because it was basically funding the lifestyle, that was, doing everything. So I don't know, in the back of my mind, that is always sort of there to say, listen, you need to make sure that, there's a balance. And building your own personal net worth as well. So what would you say your most profitable investment has been?
It's the standard stuff. It's still the money market type funds. It's been nothing yet in terms of the private deals. Some of them, they've been profitable on paper, but there's been no liquidity yet. So I'm just waiting for that payday. I'm waiting for that payday, and it should be exciting. But otherwise, it's some of the standard things.
Soon we'll be having the same kind of conversations that we're having about Paystack and Flutterwave.
Sure.
Hi, Ada. When are we going out for drinks? Because you're now, a billionaire. I think that's amazing that you've not just used your funds to invest in your business and raise capital for your business, but you've also helped other people get their ideas off the ground. That's amazing, and that's a big sort of it potentially has a big long-term payoff. So what would you say that your biggest money mistake has been? Thing you've done with your money that is either a mistake or a failure that other people can learn from?
Doing early stage investing already as high risk. So you do something, maybe an entrepreneur sounds amazing. It's always great when they talk about their business and all the money they're going to make back for you. But some of them don't work out. And you're like, damn it, I put that money. So I say, actually, I'm in that bucket of people who I only truly invest stuff that I don't mind losing. Yeah. I really don't. You either diversify that risk, or please don't go and take money that's for your children's school fees or something and say, let me go and make this thing quickly. They told me I'll get the money back in 30 days. It really is. Sometimes I don't know how people do it. So yeah, there's that. And then sometimes I really just wish that I didn't maybe buy some clothes, or why did I binge on that? There are times, but those days, it was before. But
yeah, now your priorities are different.
Yeah, but you still have the tendency. But yeah, then it was like you just buy this bag, this designer, this or that. And you're like, damn it, why did I do that? I could have used it for this. So yeah, those are some things.
So when it comes to spending, what would you say your guilty pleasures are?
I like food. I like traveling. There's that. I pulled back, like you said, since I became an entrepreneur, I've pulled back on some. Oh my gosh, those shoes! I could die for shoes there. But now I'm so restrained. I just don't even go past those stores. There's no need because the priorities change. But I'm looking forward to that coming back soon.
Imagine. So we all have, these ideas about money that we've had since childhood. So what was your first childhood memory of money? Like something that sort of shaped the way you think about money now?
First of all, from a family standpoint, we were pretty much always, middle class, comfortable. There was never a time that there were things that we wanted and we couldn't get. It was just managed. I think the parents managed their expectations very well. But I think the earliest memory I have of something to do with money was trading. It's interesting that I'm now trading as an entrepreneur and have a business that trades. But I remember we lived in Ikoyi, and we had these, in those colonial houses, the apartments, those flats, 1, 2, 3, 4, up, down, up, down. And we were in the bottom flat. My mom was with the civil service. She worked with the Ministry of Justice. And the back door where the kitchen is, there were steps back door for the upstairs people. And I just would sit under those steps outside our own kitchen at the back. And one day, I think my dad gave me 1 naira or something. And I used that 1 naira. I said, 1 naira, I'm going to buy Tom Tom and buttermint sweet and stuff. Because I now thought that, let me put it under the stairs there and be selling it to the people going up and down. They'd rather buy from me than have to walk all the way to the Malam. Oh. So that was my first business. I think my mom gave me chin chin, and rather than eating the chin chin, I put it for sale. Oh. But I still remember that 1 naira note. You know how that 1 naira note was? Yeah. And basically, that was one of my first memories of money, and it's linked to trade.
Oh my God, I love it. So that entrepreneurial spirit has really
yeah, it's interesting. I've not thought of that memory in decades.
Okay, so I wanted us to just sort of round up talking about, what skills you feel like you had to build to become this successful entrepreneur, especially in this climate. Because I feel like obviously it's a very challenging environment to build the kind of business that you've been building. So what skills would you say that you had to build to have this amazing career and business?
It's not something I've thought of in terms of what did I build deliberate, but maybe I can think about it from what has worked for me and the skills that have worked for me. Maybe think about 3 or 4. Maybe the first is something around resilience. And we've spoken to some of the examples of how we've had to go through tough situations. And I think it's only through that resilience, and many entrepreneurs have it, but we're always tested. We're always tested. Some people don't build back. Some people are not able to, one thing or the other. But I know I'm quite stubborn. And I just, how I told you earlier on, that thing of setting myself apart, it's just what keeps me going, and just have that resilience is part of it. I think a second thing will be around the way I've just my values with regards to working with people and building teams. At the end of the day, it's the Jasons of the world and the Blessings and the Afolabis and the Peters who have built my business with me. They are the ones every day at those stores interacting. They know the customers more than I do, right? So I think being able to continue motivating them, to continue making them believe in me, I think is a skill that I'm very grateful for. That they feel that they could continue doing what they do with this company, with me. I think it's something that I truly am really grateful for, and I value. I would add a third around just I don't know if it's a skill or it's a feeling or whatever, but I would say gratitude drives me in a big way. I am always, I lead with gratitude. I lead my life with gratitude. I wake up with gratitude. The actions I take, really, I just feel really blessed. And it makes me, how would you say, when you feel so honored to be blessed to do what you're doing or have the things that you have, it makes you cherish it in a way that you want to keep guiding, molding, making it better. And that's why I say, if I could have been given this, there's no excuse not to do well. There's no excuse not to be excellent. There's no excuse. And that pushes me to continue being the best that I can be and build the best company, or just being the right person and being a good person to other people. So I think those are some of the main things.
I know that like me and there are women who are like way younger than me, they'll be looking at you and thinking, oh my God, like, how does she do it? Like, how can I be like her when I grow up? What sort of, like, just looking back on your, on your career, on your journey, what tips would you give to like a young African girl who wants to sort of go on this journey as well? What tip would you give to sort of encourage her?
Yeah. And it's a good way to end, because it just summarizes maybe a number of the things we've spoken about today. The first being issues around have a good mentor, have a good supporter, have a good sponsor, that person who will go the bat for you. It's so important. It is so. And it's not about going to ask and say, can you be my mentor? Can you be my sponsor? You have to let them be the ones to sometimes seek you out. Let them seek you out, and you wouldn't even know how they are just opening up opportunities, opening doors for you. So have that person or a number of those people in your life. I think a second thing would be just have a big, bold vision. It's scary. It could be scary, but honestly, you would be surprised at how that's what's guiding the decisions you're making, the path you take, the trainings you go on to do, the people you want to meet. It's guided by that big, audacious vision. So don't let people tell you you're dreaming too much or that's not possible. Dream big and have the audacity to say you want to achieve big things. So that's second. Finally, I would just say what I ended with earlier just now. It's gratitude. We are where we are for a reason, and always remembering that you are special. We all are unique and special. So you just have to be thankful for that and believe that because you are special, because you are unique, you're built and you're here for great things. So that belief should continue guiding you in all that you do.
Oh my God, that is so amazing, Ada. But final question, a question I like to leave all my guests with. If you won the lottery and you won $1 million, tax-free, you could do anything with it, what would you splurge on? What would you invest in?
I would splurge on a nice holiday to an amazing island, maybe, or go to a place like Bali. So like the best hotel, the best food, limo-driven chauffeurs, everything. I want to splurge on that. I wish I could do that like today. Take me to Bali. What would I invest in? Arese, did you see what happened with Dogecoin yesterday? I'm like, what the heck? But yeah, I don't know. I wish I was in that crypto game way earlier.
Okay.
No, I don't know. If I had so much money, yes, maybe, even if it's still expensive now. I mean, I do have the view that it's going to keep going up. I don't know about Doge, but maybe Ether and Bitcoin for sure. I would do something there. And yeah, those are just two initial things.
I love it. Thank you so much, Ada. This has been so amazing. Good luck with everything. Keep inspiring.
Thank you, and thanks for all you do to keep inspiring young women and men all over. And thanks for sharing with me your own big dreams as well.
Thank you. Have a great day. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to this episode of the Smart Money Tribe podcast. I hope you enjoyed it. I'm super excited about creating financial content for African millennial women who want to live a fabulous life, but also want to learn how to find the balance between spending on their lifestyle needs and building assets that could protect their financial futures.